Hey, what's up, Backflow Broskis? It's your boy, the Backflow Bro. Today we're going to go over the ASSE 5000 2022 three-hose procedure, or multi-hose they call it. We have adapted their procedure to use our two-valve kits. So if you look at the ASSE standards, they actually kind of don't let you use a two-valve kit. But we've adapted it over. It should be fine in your jurisdiction. If you're taking an IATMO class or one with PHCC or UA local, they might not have two-valve kits. They might say two-valve kits are bad. You might see that. We use the two-valve. It's a little easier to manufacture them. If you have a three-valve kit or a five-valve kit, it's like you just have extra valves, which are expensive and heavy to hold. Notably, Philadelphia. I took the class actually with IATMO yesterday. I finished yesterday. I took the exam. They do require the three-valve version, or the three-hose, either five-valve or three-valve version for Philadelphia. We have adapted it to the two-valve, so we're essentially going to use the Kruger Instruments two-valve kit. If you want to see it done with a five or a three-valve, we do actually have a three-valve kit, but it's a little more involved to manufacture, so we don't particularly recommend those. But if you want the three-valve kit, we do have that. Make sure when you're doing three-valve that all three valves are needle valves. The gauges should meet the ASSE 1064 standard. If you read up, like the RPs are 1013, double checks are 1015. 1064 breaks down the differential pressure kits. If you have like a Watts TK9A, those are the big ones. They were kind of like earlier. Back in the day, you could do different things. Today, you can't. So if you have like a Watts TK9A or one of the knockoffs like Buffalo Backflow or Gauge It, I think Gauge It kind of sells the Midwest ones now. But back in the day, they used to have their own three-valve kit. If you have a historic three-valve kit, you might be fine depending on the approvals. The guy I know in Philadelphia is Pharrell Lawrence. I think he's still the guy. Do what he wants. If you're in Philadelphia, make sure you're doing what the Philadelphia people want to do. They might accept their two-valve kit. You want to kind of ask them, be like, hey, it's the Kruger Instruments. Before you buy a kit, don't buy a kit and then be like, oh, this is bullshit. Like, why can't you accept my kids? But if you're doing the one hose, the two-valve Kruger Instruments is definitely approved. It's compliant with the ASSE standards, 1064, and all that stuff. We have this version of it, and we basically just adapted the five-valve test for the three-hose with the two-valve kit. So we've done it all ourselves with Kruger Instruments. It might not be accepted 100% where you're at. If you're doing the USC procedures, it definitely would be. But if you're doing the ASSE 5 or 3 valve test, it might not be. We do have a 3-valve kit that should be accepted for whatever you're doing. And we'll have other videos. If you check the link in the description, we'll have different things going on. So let's just get to it. We have RP here. We're going to go through the test procedures using it. So it's a 5-valve test with ASSE, but it's adapted to a 2-valve kit. We have 4 test cocks, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2 shutoffs, 1, and shutoff 2. The inlet shutoff is number 1. It says 1 here. That's because the whole valve is 1 inch. It might be 3/4 or something if it's 3/4. It has nothing to do with the 1. That doesn't mean it's just shutoff 1. Shutoff 1 is the inlet. For ASSE, the first step, I know what you're thinking, like, oh, I'm going to start flushing test cocks. The first step is actually the notify, identify, inspect, observe. ASSE IATMO seems to say those words. You could probably just say those words and you're fine. Some people might want it more elaborate, depending on the test, the exam you're taking and everything, you might have a different thing. Next step is to flush the test cocks. For ASSE, you open 4, then you open and close 1, 2, and 3. Then you close 4. You close all your needle valves on your test kit. So you close For us, we only have 2, so we close the high and low bleed. We attach high hose to 2, low hose to 3. It doesn't say to loop the bypass, so we'll leave it off for this abridged version using the 2-valve kits. For some other providers, notably USC out West Coast, they say to kind of like introduce flow through the valve in order to make sure the RP doesn't dump when you first open shut off or check test cock 2. What you want to do for ASSE is kind of just open test cock 2 slowly. I'll show you, but if you smack it, like wide open, creates like a water hammer. So like water comes through, hits the end of the kit, and then like there's a shock wave that comes down. And it will actually pop the relief valve a lot of times. So I'll just smack it and you can watch the relief valve dump a little bit. You saw a little, you're actually not supposed to do that, so you don't want to do that. So what I would recommend if you're taking the test or you're testing one in the field is just kind of like slowly let it go. You don't want to create that shock wave. So it says open test cock 2, open and close high bleed. Open test cock 3. If you notice, the gauge should be all the way up, but it's not. Open and close low bleed. We'll drop down to the differential pressure, so 7.2. You don't take that reading yet. It does give you a reading. The first step for the ASSE is called attach the test kit. For the 3-hose, the 3-hose adapted to the 2-valve kit, you do all of that. Attach your bypass to high. Attach your bypass to test cock 4. Unfortunately though, all this is full of air. So you have a bypass valve that's full of air. So you go ahead and open high, and then you loosen the hose. You want to make sure water is coming out of your hose, because water is going to run through the high from test cock 2, it's going to bleed through the hose. Test cock 4 is currently closed, so that should be the only thing. It's not going to come out of test cock 4, it has to go through the gauge. If you loosen it and you just hear air, you didn't loosen it enough, or you didn't leave it loosened long enough. Now we're going to start the test. So we've attached the test kit. What you do is you slowly open low bleed. This resets the gauge. Anytime you're doing a 3-hose test, if you're doing a 1-hose test, it's always set up in a way where it's descending. If you're doing a 3-hose test, you have to make sure that the gauge is accurate. Gauges are accurate ascending and then not accurate descending. So if you're doing if you have a differential pressure kit like this, which is analog, you have to open low and close it. So you open low, the number goes up, you close low, it goes back down. Right now we're reading 7. Now we're going to do the tightness of shutoff 2. So the way ASSE does it, for a lot of other ones you do like a back pressure test. For ASSE they say you do the tightness of shutoff 2 first. Close shutoff 2. You open test cock 4. You notice your gauge is going to drop a little bit. That's from disc compression. They ask you if it's steady at the very end. If it drops from 7 to 6.4, that's not actually a problem. It's just disc compression is normal. If it drops all the way down and then starts leaking out of the relief valve, that means you have a malfunctioning number 2 check. But it kind of the way the test results work, test 1 is tightness of number 2. Test 2 is checked with back pressure, but you do it all at the same time. So the first step is open test cock 4, then you close test cock 2. If you close test cock 2 and it starts dropping, that means your shutoff 2 is leaking. Though shutoff 2 is leaking by, there's no actual test procedure with ASSE where you can do like diagnostics. A lot of USC tests, if you check out our other videos, you can see other things. But they'll have like a thing where you do like a loop and then you do a bunch of stuff. For ASSE, they basically say like if the shutoff leaks, you should probably fix it. And that's kind of normal. I guess it's probably the better way to do it. You shouldn't have a shutoff that leaks by. If you have a leaky shutoff and you have an issue with this test, you might want to just try and shut it all the way. This is a prep stand, so obviously if it was leaking, you would know. In the field though, if you might have like a 6-inch valve, just kind of like give it a little bit of a muscle, you know, and it might hold tight after you do the extra little spin. But anyway, you read it. If differential pressure is steady, meaning it's 6.6 now, just if it's not dropping, that means shutoff 2 is tight, and also that means check valve 2 is good for back pressure. You want to fill out the test reports along and like you're taking an exam. We do have more abridged versions of the test procedures in our on the channel. Also, you should be in the description. Next, you're going to do the check valve differential. For the 2 valve or for the 5 valve kits, you actually have to close more things. For us, you just close the high bleed, and then you open test cock 2. That reestablishes pressure. So now you have high bleed closed. So this isn't simulating flow because you already tested shutoff 2. For the USC procedures and some others, you leave it all open. For us, you shut the bypass or you shut the high bleed. That means you essentially, for a 5 valve kit, you would have shut the high and the bypass or just the bypass. Next, you reset your gauge. Go all the way up, go all the way down. 7.5 is what I'm reading. That's your differential pressure across check 1. So then you read that, that's good. Now you have to do the relief valve opening. For the 2 valve kits, it is a little more complicated to get the relief valve opening. You want to shut test cock 4, then you loop the valve, the hose. You loop the valve, well, make sure test cock 4 is all the way closed. You loop the hose. The hose is already bled because you did the bleeding earlier. You open high bleed, then you open low bleed a little bit. Some people say a quarter turn. You shouldn't be opening it that much. I got drips at 3.5. It doesn't matter where your test kit is located. If you're doing the 1 hose test, you have to make sure it's level with everything. For the 3 hose test, you don't. So basically 3.5, it's dripping. That's your relief valve opening point. It kind of doesn't really say it in the test procedures, but now we just pack up, we restore system. So you just kind of shut all the test cocks, remove equipment. The way ASSE words it, which is probably more correct than some of the other providers, you restore the assembly to pre-test condition. Meaning if the shutoff was closed, but when you got there, you leave it closed. If it was open when you got there, you open it back up. For us, it was open because it's a prep stand. So we'll go ahead and open it. If it was closed, say it's the irrigation system, you might like flood the irrigation, or if say it was like shut off for floor number 7 in some high rise or something, you wouldn't want to like flood the floor. But anyway, so you restore it to pre-test condition, and then actually you're done. So you should have had all of your readings: the relief valve, check valve 1, and check valve 2 against back pressure. If you're doing the extra step where you move it over, now that you've already tested shutoff 2, you probably leave it closed and then move it over. For us, we're not going to do that in this video. If you check out our 5 valve video, we do break that down. It should be in the description. But anyway, this is the 2 valve 3 hose test procedure adapted to the ASSE 1013 5 valve test. So appreciate you guys watching. If you made it this far, make sure to like and subscribe and comment any questions. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to comment. People read the comments and then like they answer the question they already had. But anyway, appreciate you guys joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one.